welcome to this new video for my channel, The Mental Traveler. I'm Caro Herrera, and today I'm going to be reviewing a story called Dr. Zhivago. The book is a Russian classic written by Boris Pasternak and published in 1957, earning the author the following year the Nobel Prize for Literature. And then Dr. Zhivago has also been adapted several times into movies and TV shows, but I'm only going to be reviewing the ones that I've seen. The 1965 movie directed by David Lean and starring Omar Sharif, Julie Christie, Geraldine Chaplin, Alec Guinness, Ralph Richardson, and Tom Courtenay, and the 2002 miniseries starring Keira Knightley, Hans Matheson, Sam Neill, Hugh Bonneville, Anne-Marie Duff, Rex Sulkin, and more. Anyways, before I begin though, let me just say that this will be a spoiler-free video, so you can sit back and enjoy. Ever since I've been a teenager, I've loved watching epic, sweeping historical dramas, and I've always had a fondness for either Hollywood productions or British productions. So when I was 15 or so, I was on this phase of watching as many British productions from the 40s to the 60s as I could get my hands on, because Vanessa Redgrave was one of my two favorite actresses of all times, and her movies led me to start appreciating other actors from the 60s, for example Peter O'Toole, Alan Bates, Terence Stamp, Albert Finney, Julie Christie, among others. And since Julie Christie starts in Dr. Zhivago, that's how I first became aware of this story. So yeah, I saw the movie when I was a teenager, I totally fell in love with it. Then I discovered that Keira Knightley had done a miniseries about it as well, so I saw that one and I liked it as well. But it wasn't until many years later that I finally got around to reading the novel. And that's because I had first bought it as an ebook, but its format was really weird. The writing structure was really difficult because it didn't have a lot of punctuation. So it was a struggle to try and figure out when someone was talking and when the narrator was telling us something as well. But yeah, when I was in the fall of 2019 in holidays in the States, I finally bought a physical copy of Dr. Zhivago and read it as soon as I was back. Dr. Zhivago is set before, during, and after the Russian Revolution, and it can be said that its two main characters are Yuri Zhivago and Larissa, also known as Lara. We follow Zhivago through all of his life, from the time he's a small orphaned child to his death, and in the meantime we get to see him becoming a doctor, a poet, a husband, a father, a lover, and we get to see what he does during the revolution. As to Lara, we follow her from the time she's a teenager, trying to cope with the strain of having a demanding, much older lover, through marriage, motherhood, and her work as a nurse during the revolution. Zhivago sees Lara more than once before the two probably become acquainted, but at one point they develop feelings for each other, and their relationship becomes this epic story of true but forbidden love set amidst the background of a world at war. Okay, so I'm gonna begin by reviewing the movie. I give it a 5 out of 5 stars review, not only because it vividly captured my imagination as a teenager, but because no matter how many times I rewatch it through the years, it just doesn't lose its charm. It's not a perfect film, but it has such beautiful costumes and landscapes and acting and dialogues, and they just really don't make such lavish productions like Zhivago anymore. Movies that were so long that they had to be cut into, just like a play or an opera or a ballet. But yeah, Omar Sharif and Julie Christie are perfect in their roles as Zhivago and Lara. They're just such a beautiful on-screen couple. I like to follow their characters when they're together, when they're apart, and see how they evolve. And as to the miniseries, I give it a 4 out of 5 stars review. I love that it covers stuff that's not shown in the movie, which made me aware of the scope of the book even though I hadn't read it by that time. And while I do prefer the movie, I like the way the character of Komorowski is portrayed in this series more than in the film. Not only because Sam Neill is a very handsome man, but because he's meaner in the series. And that sort of gives his character more depth and complexity. But yeah, finally I thought Keira Knightley, it's great to think that she portrayed a very important female character in Russian literature way before she portrayed Anna Karenina. So yeah, I think it would be cool to see her in a new adaptation of War and Peace, or in something by Dostoevsky or Chekhov. But yeah, as to the book that inspired the film and the miniseries, I'm afraid that I have to give it a 2.5 out of 5 stars review, because I'm afraid I didn't like it. I think I wasn't quite ready to read it, and I mean, I really wish I had loved it, because why wouldn't I have? But yeah, right from the start, its writing style annoyed me. It's not always written exactly the same, but I hated the way it was structured. Meaning that, for example, the sentences were so brief at times. Something like, he sat by the window, he looked out, it was dark, there were stars in the sky. I found this just such a jarring thing because the story wasn't flowing for me. The action was being cut in half every single second. Also, there aren't that many conversations, and there were times when I would have liked to know what a character was thinking about a certain situation. And I honestly believe that if it wasn't because I know the story so well because of its adaptations, I would have struggled connecting the characters' storylines. I like to point out, though, that there are some books, like Out of Africa, or The Hunchback of Notre Dame, or The Age of Innocence, or The Silmarillion, that for years I tried to pick up and I just couldn't really connect with them, and then the day comes when I pick it up out of the blue and it starts flowing right from the first sentence and I actually fall in love with the novel and it becomes a favorite or something. So maybe that will happen one day with Dr. Zhivago. I hope it does, because why wouldn't I like this novel award-winning novel? So yeah, and then I guess I wouldn't discourage you from reading the novel because it is a classic, but in my experience it wasn't good. I did read on Goodreads that it depends on the translation that you're reading, whether you like it or not, or whether you struggle with it or not. But in the end, although the novel had some nice things, I won't be picking it up anytime soon. Which is a shame, since the story has a lot of elements that interest me. From its epic love story, to my love of Russian history, because I loathe Lenin and Stalin, and I love Nicholas II and his father. So yeah, I'm always on the lookout for stories set before and during the Russian Revolution. But yeah, anyways, before I wrap up my review, I'd like to mention something that I find quite interesting about the novel. And that is its publication history. Since the Soviet Union thought that Dr. Zhivago contained criticisms of the way they like to handle things, the manuscript had to be smuggled out of the Soviet Union and into Italy in secret, and then the Soviet Union tried to prevent its publication again and again and again, but it failed to do so. As this led to the CEI to promote its publication in an attempt to embarrass the Soviet Union. When Pasternak was nominated for the Nobel Prize for Literature for his work, he had to decline it, though, because of the Soviet Union's threats of what they would do to him and to his mistress if he disobeyed. For the moment, though, I believe that this is all I have to say about this story. Thank you so much for watching my review of it. Please let me know if you liked it or not, if you agree with it or not, as well as what are your own thoughts on this story, because I would love to talk about it with you. In the description box below, you can find a link to the Goodreads page for the book, as well as a link to the IMDB page for the movie and for the miniseries. Anyways, I'm Caro Herrera, the Mental Traveler, and I hope you have a wonderful day wherever you are in the world. I'll be seeing you soon. Goodbye!